Well, good morning. It is Monday, the 30th of January, and an interesting weekend has been had by all. But we shan't be talking about that today because we're back to talking about Seinfeld. Start of a new working week, closure of January, hopefully time for a new February. I've just finished watching The Statue, which is, I'm just checking my list, episode 6 of season 2, and our 11th episode of Seinfeld overall. And I gotta say, I didn't really feel this one, which is a sad thing because I really needed a bit of a mood uplift this morning. I stupidly thought this was going to be the one where Jerry buys the Native American statue from a shop, which is a different episode. I've never actually seen this episode before, though, so that was interesting because there's a few I don't think I've seen in Seinfeld, especially in the later episodes. Yeah, I wasn't that impressed with this episode. I think the new characters that were brought in were just a little bit awkward, and it didn't really go anywhere as an episode. There was a kind of interesting thing with Kramer and his physical comedy. I think you can start to see Kramer becoming a more integral character in the show now in this episode, and there was a little bit of the physical comedy which comes to the fore later on in later episodes. Like it or not, I know a lot of people aren't big fans of the Kramer stuff, and it gets a little bit over the top as things go on. But I'm starting with a negative mood today, so I'm going to stop that and talk more about positive things. Interesting thing I noticed when I was just reading through the information on the episode. This is the first episode written by Larry Charles. Now, Larry Charles went on to direct a lot of the other episodes in Seinfeld, but also became a successful director and writer in his own right, probably most famous for working with Sacha Baron Cohen on Bruno, and of course Borat, which is a absolutely brilliant film and still kind of stands up despite people over-quoting it to the maximum. So that was interesting. So, like with season 1, maybe this is Larry's first foray into Seinfeld and still kind of finding his feet. But he writes a lot of the later episodes, or at least directs them, so a very important staff member to come on board now in the episode. What should we talk about today? Well, I guess I want to talk about thievery and theft, and more whether you can actually identify someone who's stolen something. I've been lucky in my life not to really live with flatmates who steal from me or do anything like that, which is fantastic. But oh, there we go, JP. Larry has a mad beard. He does. He sort of crosses from. He's like the Rick Rubin of comedy. For those who don't know Rick Rubin, just listen to any Def Jam record from the 80s and you'll know who I'm talking about. Yeah, so I've been lucky not to live with any kind of dodgy flatmates or anyone that's nicked from me. But certainly I think I've seen after a few house parties things going missing and then trying to find them. And I remember one time in particular, a few of my records about 12 months ago being stolen after a house party and then trying to locate them and then seeing that there was someone who had found recently acquired a record that looked a little bit similar to mine, but no personal identifier. I live in an area of London which has a sort of semi to mid crime rate, and I'm sure lots of people living around this area have experienced the theft of a small item and then found it in the front of a cash converters or reseller. So I'd love to hear from you whether that's happened to you, how you approached it. When it happened to me with this guy, I didn't approach him, I was a bit too wussy. I got broken into when I lived in Sydney about 10 years ago, and someone stole a large amount of DVDs and CDs from my house and found them in a second-hand shop in George Street in the centre of Sydney, but I had no way of proving they were mine, even though the likelihood of someone in Sydney owning a large collection of art house DVDs that almost resembled mine was very uncommon, but that's the Sydney Police Force for you. So anyway, not a great episode in my eyes, but again, there's stuff that's in this that kind of you can see setting up for Seinfeld in the future. I'm giving it 3 muffin tops out of 5. Not a strong score, not a bad score, but just not the mood lift I was hoping for today after what can only be described as 48 hours of absolute shite. So tomorrow we are watching The Revenge, which sounds like someone's going to get knocked off, but I think it's going to be something a little bit more cheerful. So we're watching The Revenge tomorrow morning. Do tune in, keep Seinfelding, and hang in there, guys. It's going to be a rough week. See ya.